Hello and welcome to another episode of Guts and Guns, where we talk about the things that matter. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Guts and Guns. I thought today I'd just have a chat with you, kind of tell you about myself, so you kind of understand where I come from, where I came from, and kind of where I'm headed in my direction in my life. I guess the best way to put it would be me, raw. But first, I want to tell you about a sponsor for today's show, and it's going to be a sponsor for a few other shows after this as well, is going to be Global Ordnance. A place where you can get pretty good deals on ammunition and a few other things as well. I'm going to put the link down below in the description of this podcast, so check it out. Go there. Clicking on that actually will help us produce better shows because the money that we get from this actually funds these shows. All right? So there you go. Click on that affiliate link below, and that will take you straight to a place that you can shop from them. And we get a little bit of money every time you make a purchase, and you get to save money because they have pretty good deals on a lot of things. All right? Anyways, let's get right into it. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Of course, my name is Derek. You guys know that. I am the lead instructor at American Preparedness Academy. The business is actually mine, but that's the title I prefer. I am an NRA instructor. I'm an NRA range safety officer. I am an American Red Cross instructor. I'm an American Red Cross instructor trainer. For multiple subjects in the American Red Cross. And I am also a USCCA instructor as well. I also have my PC 832, and for those of you who know what that is, I don't need to explain it, but for those of you who don't, that is the training that you get when you go to the police academy in order to become a police officer. So I also have that training. I have several different credentials from several different places when it comes to disaster planning and situational awareness. There's a lot of things that I have made sure that I know what I'm doing in order to teach what I teach. And I am looking to expand the business, grow the business, and I want people to come to us for their planning needs and their training needs. I've worked very hard to create the impression that American Preparedness Academy is constantly and always looking to teach people how to save people's lives. That's what we do. And we try to have as many people involved as possible when it comes to this stuff because it's important that people know when a disaster strikes what to do. You can't just go out there and wing it. You literally have to have a plan. And then when something happens that's maybe smaller, you can reevaluate your plan. And you can prepare differently for what works and what doesn't work, or what did work and what didn't work during that particular small disaster. I tell everybody to plan for a worst case scenario when it comes to where we're located or where you're located at that time. So in California, for example, we do two things. We plan for fires, and we plan for earthquakes. So fires are, we're going to have to run out very quickly. So you have to be ready to move on a moment's notice. You literally have to be ready to leave your house, especially if you live in your rural areas. And that's bug out. Honestly, that's the definition of bugging out. Then you also have to be prepared for natural disaster of earthquakes. And earthquakes are pretty sudden. You can't predict them, number one. Number two, you cannot predict how strong they'll be. So it's kind of crazy because it could be something that just you don't even feel, all the way up to something that destroys your entire neighborhood and your entire half the state. So in a major emergency, they say you should have 3 to 4 weeks of water and food. I say you're going to need more like 4 months of food and water. How do you do that? Well, like I said, I've taken a lot of classes. I have gotten a lot of credentials when it comes to being able to teach these kinds of things. And people say, well, where the heck do you get credentials from? FEMA. I have literally taken classes from FEMA. I have taken the local CERT classes. I have done everything I possibly can to be able to relay information to people that's a lot better than somebody who says, oh yeah, I can just go out in the woods and survive. Anybody can learn to do that. If you can survive the first week like that, then you've learned already how to survive. And I know a lot of people say, well, yeah, you've never done it. Yes, I have. I've been out there and I've actually survived in the harsh. So people don't know me. People don't know what I've done. And the only person that really knows me is my wife. And that's pretty much all that's really going to know every single thing I've ever done, for the most part. And even then, probably she doesn't know everything because I forgot to tell her something that happened in my life before I knew her. But I was born and raised in California, Southern California. I was raised by a 22 Master Sergeant Army retiree. I was also raised by a World War II Navy vet, my grandfather, that I'm really proud to say is my grandfather. And at this moment in time, he is still alive. I still learn things from him. I still run things by him. My father has passed away, but my grandfather's still alive. Now, this is my mother's father, not my father's father. My father's father died long before long before he was in my picture. So I never knew him. I knew my grandmother on my father's side, and she was one heck of a hard woman. She was the one that hit us over the head with a cane when we did something wrong. I got a few bumps from her in my day. She was a very hard woman. Loved her to death. And, of course, my mother, she was not born in California. She turned into a California girl, though. She was definitely, that blonde-haired kind of girl that grew up and ran around, and she was pretty much raised in California, but born in a different state, a harder state. Anyways, so you kind of know where I'm coming from. Love California, Love California. Love the weather here. Hate the politics. I see things are changing. I have a lot of hope, and I have a lot of fear as well when it comes to the politics. It's like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do, kind of thing. But that's not all California's about. So you can't change the weather here in California. My wife put it the best. She actually says you can't change the weather. You can't find the weather that's in California anywhere. You can't go from the mountains to the beach and literally snow ski and surf in the same day. And you can't anywhere else in the world. So before everybody knocks California and says, oh, you guys suck, and you guys are doing this, and you're doing that, and you're screwing it up for everybody, you're moving out of the state, and you're screwing it up for everybody. No, not everybody's doing that. A lot of us are still here, and we're still fighting. We're not willing to give up ground. I'm not willing to give up ground. And I don't think anybody else should that's born here either. The problem is that everybody keeps dividing everybody into blue and red. And California definitely votes blue. I don't care. It doesn't bother me that they vote blue. What bothers me is they keep voting for people who don't like the Constitution and want to destroy it. And anybody who says the politicians are not destroying the Constitution are way out of line, because they are literally telling companies to stop people from speaking openly about what their opinions are. They are literally taking the First Amendment away from the government and giving it the destruction of that particular amendment to the larger companies that are out here. They're making quasi-governments out of these companies, and these guys need to stop. They need to actually honor the Constitution now because they've been made quasi-governments. So the government thinks they can destroy the Constitution by passing it off to the larger companies who have the ability to stop people from speaking their minds. And that is not how this works. All right? So here we are again, like I said, everybody keeps dividing everybody into blue and red. Blue, meaning they want to take away the guns, they want to do that, but that's not what's going on here. And that's what's sad. They keep saying, oh, these liberal people want to take away the guns. No, more liberals right now are buying guns than, I don't know, conservatives, because conservatives already have guns. And the liberals are afraid that the government's going to stop letting them buy, so they're starting to buy them. At least that's the people that are coming to me. So when you say that these people aren't gun loving, or they are on the other side of this issue and they want to ban all guns, that's not true. They are gun loving, and when it comes to the Constitution, they believe in it just like the other side does. So, and then everybody's putting these people into the red category. The red category has to be the people who are Trump loving, the people who are, rednecks, and they believe in racism, and they want to stop women from making choices on their bodies, and I don't even know anymore, and I don't care because I don't identify with that. I'm not in that group, so I don't care what people call me. It doesn't bother me whatsoever, at all. What does bother me is when a politician will sit here and say, yes, we are wanting to make sure that people can defend themselves, but not with guns. And I'm like, okay, how does that help? Because what that tells me is that you're afraid of us. You are afraid of people who like guns. You are afraid of people who believe that the government should always stay in check from the people, no matter what. And the only way for us to know that we have you in check is to own guns. Because we have a military and a police force that's militarized to the teeth. They are way beyond what we could possibly have. And I don't believe that the people should be that outgunned. I believe all people should be able to own all things. I've heard a few people say, oh yeah, okay, so then why don't you just include grenades and rocket launchers and RPGs and all this other stuff? And I said, yeah, I want to. And they look at me and they go, what? And I said, yeah, I want to. I want to make sure that we can have that. I'll even step out even further and say, why aren't criminals, or I should say felons, allowed to ever own guns again? Why is that a thing? Why do they have to give up their rights as humans for their entire life if they've served their time? I don't understand that. Where did that law become okay? We have laws for people who break the law, period. Literally. Everything, murder, rape, theft, whatever, name it. We have laws for everything. So why are felons not able to get their gun rights back, their voting rights back, or many other things back because they made a mistake? Are you saying that they can't be human? No. I think everybody should be able to make mistakes and actually, pay for them. If they're too dangerous to own guns, then I think they're too dangerous to be in society. Honestly. Explain that to me. So, I'm going out on a limb here and I'm kind of telling you how I feel about this. And some of this might be controversial, and I don't really care. Because I feel like people need to know more about other people and think a little more critically, whether it's from me, if they listen to me, or they listen to somebody else. Hopefully they think more critically because of it. We've all done things in our lives that maybe we're super proud of, and we've all done things in our lives that we're not so proud of. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things that are human, And I don't think that anyone should be punished for their entire life for anything unless they've done it over and over and over and over and over again and they're not learning from the lessons. Now, that's a different story. I don't know. What do you think? Anyways, I'm just telling you about me and my thought process works and how things work, so that you kind of understand me, and you may or may not agree. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. Hopefully it doesn't drive you away from the podcast. Hopefully it doesn't drive you away from listening to other podcasts that I do. I want to kind of tell you also kind of where I'm going to go with this podcast, and hopefully where I'm going to go with this podcast is what I'm going for. I want to have guests on here. I want to talk to people and have conversations with people, regular, ordinary people, maybe other people who have more stuff going on, whatever. What I mean by that is like, I don't know, Ben Shapiro. That'd be nice to have him on the show at some point. That'd be cool. That doesn't necessarily mean I will, but there are people out there that I like to listen to. There are people out there that you may not know about, or that you like to listen to, and you get a different perspective on things than I do. And hey, that's okay. We could actually sit and talk, and we don't have to fight about anything. We don't even have to agree when we're done. But your opinion, my opinion, and somewhere in the middle, right? That's what this is about. That's what this podcast is about. It's about talking about the things that matter, talking about things that maybe don't, but mostly getting together, talking to people, talking to you, having a conversation, starting a thought process, planting seeds, whatever the case may be. All right? So it's kind of where I would like to see this to go. I'd like to see this going. If you guys have any thoughts, I'm definitely always looking for information or ideas on how to improve. I'm always looking for information and ideas on topics to cover. I'm always looking for things that are maybe fun to do. We can go out and we can do some off-roading and talk about that kind of stuff. I might be doing some podcasts from the road here pretty soon. Got a few things I got to go do. But, you never know. It'll be kind of fun. It's just going to be a fun kind of podcast kind of time, and we just talk and go from there. Anyways, guys, that's kind of all I got for you today. You kind of understand who I am. You know where I'm coming from. You know my experiences, or at least a few of them, and you kind of know where my mind is. So I guess I will talk to you next time on the next one. Might be something a little more interesting for you, but we'll talk then. Hope you guys have a good week. Well, that's it for this episode, folks. We hope you tune in for the next one. Until then, have a great week.